What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Andy Ruiz has finally spoken, everybody. He was on his Instagram live. He's on a plane going to Mexico. He do an advertisement. He's finally spoken. He says, despite reports saying that I've agreed to fight Andy Ruiz in Saudi Arabia, those reports are false. I am not fighting in Saudi Arabia. He says, I don't have no protection over there, so I'm not fighting over there. He said the fight will take place in America, and we will have an announcement coming soon. He says, despite what Eddie Hearn says, as you know, at that press conference in London with that Saudi rep, he was saying that, oh, man, nothing to see here. You know, the fighters agreed to. Both fighters have signed off on it, and the fight is taking place in Saudi Arabia on December the 7th. That's basically what he said, despite people were saying, well, where were the fighters there? You know, Anthony Joshua wasn't there. Andy Ruiz wasn't there. You had a press conference promoting one of the biggest fight in the world of boxing, as you say, one of the biggest fights of 2019, a fight that was going to change the boxing world forever, but now one of the fighters were there. Now, Andy Ruiz has said, no, it's not going down in Saudi Arabia. I have no protection over there. So despite what Eddie Hearn says, he says, you know, when Eddie Hearn said that both parties have agreed to the rematch, he says that's false. When he says that all the sanctioning bodies have signed off on the fights, as Eddie Hearn has stated at the press conference, he said that's not true. So, people, we got a situation. We got what you call a meeting at the crossroads. You know what I'm saying? As I do it in the Bone Thugs and Harmony voice. We've got a situation. Now, this thing can go two ways. Either, this is going to boil down to, I know you UK fans might not like what I'm about to say, but this fight's going to either take place in two places. It's either going to take place in America or it's going to take place in the courtroom. It's going either one of those two ways. Now, Eddie Hearn says he's got in the rematch clause, but nobody's seen the rematch clause. Nobody knows exactly the language of the rematch clause, but Eddie Hearn has pretty much steadfastly said that, hey, man, we got control of the rematch clause. The fight will take place when and where we say it takes place. Me and AJ got all the cards. You know what I'm saying? Andy Ruiz has no say, basically, is what Eddie Hearn has stated. So, Andy Ruiz is not saying that. He's not singing that same song. He's basically saying, no, we in control. I'm the champion. I got the belts. The fight will take place in America, despite what Eddie Hearn says, despite what Anthony Joshua said. The fight will take place in America, and we will have an announcement coming soon. So, you got two people saying two different things, and I'm talking about two opposite things. You know, Eddie Hearn is saying the fight is going down in Saudi Arabia. We got control of it. Andy Ruiz and his people have signed off on it. You know, and it's an ironclad, basically, rematch clause that he has to fight where we tell him to fight and where we tell him to fight. And he's got a set fee for $9 million. Andy Ruiz saying, no, y'all don't call none of the shots. We call the shots. The fight's going to happen in America. I'm not going over there to Saudi Arabia. I have no protection over there. And we're going to fight in America. And we will have an official announcement, the official announcement, not that bogus dog and pony show they had over there in London with Eddie Hearn and a Saudi rep, and then none of the fighters that were participating in, quote unquote, the biggest fight of the year. You know, the fight that would change boxing forever, as Eddie Hearn said. So it's going to be interesting, man. Like I said, this thing going to go two ways. Either the fight's going to take place in America, or the fight's going to, we're going to have a fight in the courtroom. Now, if the fight goes in courtroom, then, you know, both fighters probably end up being on the shelf for a while till they get the litigation situation straight. So that'll push that fight to 2020 easy. And, you know, and what probably would end up happening is they would probably sue Ruiz for damages, and Ruiz and Al Haymon might have to come out some money. And the IBF has already said that, you know, they came out yesterday and said, look, if you don't fight by December 7th, we're going to mandate that you fight Korbat Pulev, or you will get stripped. So a lot of these sanctioning bodies, you know, might start getting itchy. As you see, IBF is real strict on their guidelines. They don't care. They don't really care too much about, you know, unification. They will overrule unification real quick and call it mandatory. They seem to be the one out of the WBC and WBA to really adhere more strict to the guidelines of their organization. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens, man. But it's real interesting, man. Andy Ruiz is singing a whole different song than Eddie Hearn is singing. You know, Eddie Hearn is singing Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, and Andy Ruiz is singing you know, he's singing you know, Andy Ruiz is singing Tupac, you know, All Eyes on Me. You know, they singing two, you know, I ain't gonna say well, he's rapping Tupac, All Eyes on Me. So it's two different genres. Two different music, two different forms of music, as they say. They both ain't doing no duet. You know, both of them ain't doing no you know, they ain't doing no Bobby and Whitney. We have something in common. We have something in common. And let's see me and you and we. They ain't doing no we have something in common. We ain't got nothing in common. It ain't nothing common. I want to fight in the USA. And in America, you say we got a fight already signed, sealed, and delivered. I'm yours, like Stevie Wonder say in Saudi Arabia. So we'll see how it plays out, man. But I kind of saw this coming, man. That's why you didn't really see me do no videos too much about the press conference, man. I kind of stated that I was wondering how the fight was going to take place here in the U.S. if it did go down in Saudi Arabia. What would be the time frame of it? I thought the fight would probably actually take place around, you know, in the middle of the night in the USA. But now that I did a little more checking, that fight actually will be on in the afternoon in the USA. So the time difference I got mixed up. I thought the time difference was like a big gap. But it's about you know, it's not that big a gap. Basically gonna be on at nighttime. If the fight was to take place at 9 o'clock in the UK, it'll be on in the afternoon here in the US. So we'll see how what transpires, man, in the coming days, man. But this fight is not settled. This situation is not settled. We don't know where the venue is going to take place at. We don't have a date, despite what you saw on Monday up in the UK, up in London. We don't have nothing that's been settled. That's basically what Andy Ruiz has said. So he did his interview on his Instagram live post. I know a lot of his fans were flooding this post. I know a lot of my boxing friends were on his Twitter, you know, asking questions like, "Hey man, what's going on, man?" Because you know it was his silence was deafening. You didn't hear him say nothing as when this situation first happened. When the reports came out, I think it was Saturday. It came out that, hey, they agreed to fight, or maybe Friday or Saturday, I can't remember. And then they was like, you know, doing the release, they said they would have a press conference Monday with Eddie Hearn. But you notice even in the press release, they never mentioned that Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua would be at the press conference. So when the information first came out around Saturday, you know, Andy Ruiz, Sunday you never heard Andy Ruiz talk. Monday you didn't hear Andy Ruiz make any kind of statement. Tuesday, didn't hear anything from Andy Ruiz. And now finally Wednesday, he does something on his Instagram live, and he posts that, man. He says, "Look, it's not signed, man. It's not happening in Saudi Arabia, man." And that's what a lot of people were saying, man. You know, you look at Saudi Arabia, the government that runs that country, the royal family, man, and you know, a lot of people don't feel safe over there. You know, they've got human rights issues as far as how they treat women, and there's a lot of situation that would make a person coming from another country not feel comfortable. So they should have, Eddie Hearn, he tried to squash all that during the press conference, saying that, you know, women be able to come over here, you know, and he tried to squash a lot of that stuff that, you know, of course people be protected. Of course we're going to have safety. You know, he tried to squash all that, man, but obviously he didn't convince Andy Ruiz and his people that it was safe over there, because he's basically saying, I have no protection over there. I have no protection for me or my family, and I'm not going over there. So that's what it is, man. So we'll see what takes place, man. But again, Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz 2 is up in the air. Nothing is settled yet, as Andy Ruiz just stated in his Instagram live video. And we'll see if Eddie Hearn has a response to that, man. We'll see what happens, man. But like I say, this thing's going two ways. It's going to happen in America, or it's gonna happen in the courtroom. Eddie Hearn's gonna take him to court, man. But like I said, that's gonna just delay, you know, the fight taking place, if it takes place at all, man. It'll put both fighters on the shelf. Anthony Joshua, you want him to become the champion again, that'll put that all in jeopardy. You know, maybe the belts end up getting split up or something. You know, maybe Ruiz drops the belts. Maybe he pulls a Riddick Bowe and says, "Look, I'm not fighting. I'm not putting myself and my family in jeopardy." And he'll drop the belts. Do a Riddick Bowe, drop the belts in the trash can. And if that's happening, it's not like Anthony Joshua they're gonna hand Anthony Joshua all 3 belts. So all those 3 belts will just basically get split up. IBF will have their mandatory. You know, more than likely they will call on Kubrat Pulev to fight Adam Konoski. WBO got Usyk as their #1 contender. Maybe well, he's guaranteed a shot. I don't know who's the #1. I think #1 contender is actually Dillian White. So maybe they'll call Dillian White to fight the next highest rated guy, and so forth and so on, with the WBA doing the same thing with the 2 highest rated fighters in that fighter. Maybe Anthony Joshua gets a shot at the WBA because he's rated high. He'll fight the highest rated guy in the WBA, and therefore he'll be able to get 1 of his belts back, but he would not be able to get all 3 of his belts back. The WBO and WBC would probably get split up. So we'll see what happens, man. But I'm about to get up out of here, man. Just dropping you that little nugget there, man, about Andy Ruiz, and we'll see what Eddie Hearn response is. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.